Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to SP Reviews, where today I have the pleasure of reviewing an album, the very first album from an act named Echo Strike. And if we switch over to here, this is titled Honest Lies. It is their 2019 album. I have reviewed Can't Do Anything. Wow, my internet's really slow today. Can't Do Anything Right. That was the most recent one I reviewed from them. I've also reviewed Not Inside Your Mind as far as I'm aware, as well as Dirty, Clean, Sexy, Mean. So they're working on some new material as I understand it, but today we're going to be reviewing their very first album. So I'm going to do this review session in two parts. Today I'm going to review 6 tracks, because it's also, it's quite late at night. Not that I'm feeling sleepy or anything like that. I just want to make sure I've got energy for the whole review. I don't want to kind of half-ass it near the end. And we're going to do the next 7 tomorrow. You won't know that because it'll be all one big video, but just letting you know in case I change outfits or something like that. But we're going to listen through this album from start till finish, and we're going to hear what we think. It'd be nice to hear their roots, you know what I mean? Let's go, starting with Stuck. It's always good to hear a band's first album, you know what I mean? We'll take it off shuffle because I don't think that's going to be particularly helpful in this situation. Hang on, did that start at the start? I just want to start from the beginning. Oh, there was a little note at the start, okay. An offbeat, a little bit off-killed a drum pad. That's been, played well. Interesting synth or woodwind synthy melody there as well.
I didn't know which way the wind would blow.
I like the vocal modulation with the filtered bass parts.
What was coming for me? I shouldn't find.
Oh yeah, letting those chord note kick grooves carry us forward.
Exactly what's on your mind. I wouldn't care.
Parallel major and the root note.
But
Nice.
life simply isn't fair.
Oh, we've got lyrics as well, so I can watch the lyrics as well. That's cool.
Take a breath. Close your eyes for me. What comes next? I cannot guarantee.
I like this gentle oscillation of those synth rises alongside the occasional guitars you hear. They're pretty textures.
You're stuck in my mind now. I never thought you could be. Don't waste my time now. This shouldn't happen to me. You're stuck in my
The mixing's good.
now.
I like the way things are level with the punchiness of the percussion and the vocals sitting on top.
I think it is time now for us to close the deal.
The vocal style kind of reminds me of Moby in the mid-2000s. Oh, not Moby, the blues song, I'm Blue. The kind of tone that they had in the vocals in that track. Like the effects that they had in that track, you know? The vocal chops are an interesting addition. I kind of like them. It's nice for an intro track that is, 5 minutes. It's a fair bit of heft to it.
I didn't fly until I looked deep inside. I wasn't aware, but then I touched your hair. I couldn't make sense of the feeling and what it meant.
The stepping of the vocals makes sense when you include the synthetic layers of the track, like the pads that we have and everything like that.
Shouldn't believe
There's a sense of wonderment with the chords and everything like that.
inside of me. Take a breath. Close your eyes for me. What comes next?
And the funkiness of that bass line is nice and welcome, dude.
Cannot guarantee. You're stuck in my mind now. I never thought you could be. Don't waste my time now. This shouldn't happen to me.
mean, it's a fairly inoffensive pop song, to be fair.
think it is time.
It'll be good to see what they do with the remaining minute and a half they have there, see how they make the most of that, you know? You know, the vocal chops for both and thumbnail vocals. And the filtered pianos or the low reverb delay effects they have are great. Obviously the vocals are the focal point. This is somewhere though where they could have potentially put another kind of instrumental layer, or like as a lead or something like that. But it's okay if we don't want to have a solo section. No, we don't have to. It's just an option, you know what I mean? I wonder how they would have played this in a live scenario, you know? How many instrumentalists they would have needed to be able to pull this off, you know? You're stuck in my mind.
You're stuck in my
You know, it's a really pretty chord progression. There weren't any sort of weird sort of semitone chromatic shifts there. There were no ugly sort of tones in there between the instruments or the vocal melodies or harmonies. I think that first track was about feeling kind of stuck with your feelings for someone and knowing that you got to kind of do the best you can to move on from that and kind of maybe go take it to the next level. You know, it's accepting, looking inside and figuring out what's going on in there. But good start to the album, Honest Lies. I mean, you know, Honest Lies, and that a juxtaposition, am I right? But we'll see the album more as we go through it. We got The Approach, track number 2. Awesome. Lyrics for these as well. We're really focusing on these kind of peppy synth leads with the basses and drums. Bit of wah guitar as well, you know. Ferocious.
watching your body move, rhythm of the moment, immersed completely in the groove. Your grace consumes me, I lose control, taking steps towards you, moving closer than before.
I like how colorful the bass line is and how that's kind of accenting some of the syllables or words in the vocal parts as the drum kind of guides us along. Nice to have unison between the instruments in and out, you know?
Thinking of steps, my hand upon your thigh, locked together, we're two of a kind. A vibe clears the air, I can't help but lose my mind. I fear, but I must pursue. I'm here, it's time to face the truth.
It's interesting to have groups of like 6 bars for each half of the chorus stanza. A lot of the time people will put 8 in and they'll just have like the lyrics fill the first 4 and the tail fill the first bar or 2 after that, or the first but then the extra bars, hang on, so the first 2 bars will have the vocal line and then there'll be like an extra bar after the third one so that it just is like a space. They're messing around with the phrasing of the bars and I like that. That's what I'm trying to communicate, you know. I go there eventually, right? I mean, it's fairly easy to understand what it's about when you have the lyrics in front of you, and I'm glad that Spotify has that picture. It only took me 2 years to learn that the lyrics feature was in Spotify. I'm such a slow learner, dude. Or maybe it's just a lack of inquisitiveness, which is equally you know, what's the word? Unhelpful. There you go.
My butterflies jump. You stare into my eyes, I know that I've won.
So this is basically about an approach sexually or physically, right? That intimacy there.
I feel all of you. I feel you, baby. A riddle of delight.
I do like the use of the organ here. The theme has been fairly inoffensive up until this point, but that kind of sassiness with the soul or 70s vibes there is kind of good.
I see you, baby. Confidence is right.
I'm glad that he's feeling confident, that BDE, you know?
Baby, my hands wrapped so tight. Stay with me.
Very nice ghost notes, 16th snare
I hope that
on the snare drums.
I feel you, see
So the olfactory sensories and stuff like that.
you and taste you.
It's nice to have a simplification of those vocal lines to go with the change in the percussion with those drum fills. We've had the motif and the different sort of textures continue throughout this track. And I think that this is like long enough to get a kind of a groove of what it's all about.
Touch you and taste you. I feel you, baby. A riddle of delight. I see you, baby.
And we've got some plucks now, some instrumental plucks, which is a nice additional layer here. It might have been here earlier, but I'm just noticing it now.
It's right. I touch you, baby. My hands wrapped so tight. Stay with me, baby. I hope that you mind. Closing time, come with me. The butterflies have left, and now I'm filled with bees.
Filled with bees. The butterflies have left and now I'm filled with bees. That's a tricky line for me, man. I'm not sure how to interpret that, because like if I was filled with bees, that'd be incredibly uncomfortable, man. Is that to say, as I like the birds and the bees, that kind of vibe? Is that what we're going for there with that influence? But I think it's about the approach to someone that you're physically attracted to and the intimacy there and the feeling of doing stuff with them. Basically having sex. That's basically what this track is about as far as I'm aware of. It could be cuddles, but that's not the vibe I'm getting from it. And that's absolutely fine. We're all adults here. But yeah, no, it's a pretty song for sure. I like the synth strings at the end. I'm looking for a bit of bite. I'm looking for a bit of edge from these tracks, and I know these guys, they're fairly gentle with a lot of the approach to some of these tracks. A lot of it, from what I've reviewed, is really palatable. Some of the subject matter has been a bit darker, but the music always kind of soothes and caresses you in the right way. So, we're going to listen to Eyes on You now, track number 3. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Sublime. I don't mean to compare simply because like when I talk about bands that it reminds me of, it's not because I think, hey, this band's better than that band or whatever. It's just me trying to sort of acclimatize to the style that they're doing, trying to figure out what influences they might have, etc.
How can you push on through? I keep my eyes on you. If a sad song plays on the radio and your faith is taking the final blow, keep my eyes on you. Take a breath.
I do like the fact that the bass comes in and it's nice and warm and it's leveled accurately. It backs up the root notes of the chord progression on that guitar part, that steel string that came in at the beginning.
Hold me tight. Shut your eyes, don't deny I'll be by your side.
The mix sounds a little bit naked, like I was expecting it to be a little bit tighter, but I don't mind a dynamic range to it, you know?
Keep my eyes on you. If the darkness creeps and you are here and your heart is full of fear, I keep my eyes on
I'm not sure if the vocal effects that we had here would necessarily have been beneficial in situations like this, where the majority of it is acoustically centered. I think with tracks where we've had more sort of synthy elements or EDM-ish elements, it makes sense to have the vocal effects, but it would have been nice just to kind of hear the vocals a bit more raw in this one. The message of the song is pretty though, I really like it. Yeah, no, I mean, I like the variation of the drum grooves, etc. I like how it sounds with with a lot of elements here. It's positive. There's a lot of range there. The instrumental performances there, at least from the percussion and some of the little twinkly parts in the leads. It's just nice to have the wah guitar, you know what I mean? I'm wondering why the vocals aren't synced though. Usually Spotify can sync the vocals, the lyrics to the song. $60th groove on the hi-hats is dope though, and the rolls as well. I think that the variation of different lead elements in here alongside the vocals to it makes this for a more interesting track from a compositional perspective. And we're just finishing the pianos there. I honestly, I really enjoyed this track. I kind of just wanted to shut my brain off and just kind of groove along to it. I don't know why I like this track more than the others, aside from the parts about the various little lead sections or instrumental breaks. I think it was just because of that. I feel like we had a better kind of shift there. We had a lot of sort of thematic development there, the storyline. You can tell that this track is about someone who is kind of openly kind of letting the other person know that they'll support them when they're going through the difficult times, and they'll keep an eye on them, and they'll make sure that they get out of that situation okay. I understand the context of this track, so I think that came in so early on that it made sense to, and again, I'm glad that's gotten more plays. I think that is the strongest track so far, just because of the range there. It got to the crux of the kind of concept early, and you needed to have those lead voices come in to alternate. But that was great. We got nice finish here. Track number 3, doing well so far. And now we're gonna do number 4, Clear Path. Oh, that's a funky A. I like what is that little fuzzy synth we have here? Little sequencer thing going onto the far side of the stereo field. We got a similarity. Is that an electric bass that we've got alongside these digital layers?
I get the feeling that you want me to be more than I ever thought I could be. You won't tell me that directly. To change, I'll have to open my eyes to see.
I prefer this. This vocal timbre is fantastic. Give me more of this, please. I think that this is what we need. It is more of this in this album. I think this tone of voice would have suited the last track really well.
Let the
guy could sing. You know what I mean? Oh, the falsetto is beautiful, dude. And the tom fills, man. It's wonderful variation here. Really busy lead line in the background, but as a sub layer, it makes wince on the guitar. And you got da 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 da. There's a little sort of synth sub layer in the background there to kind of pep and call and response.
More than material curb appeal, without a way to seal the deal. Promises unlikely to move the needle. Put the music low, you're becoming too combustible. Why don't you take it slow and find another way to go? You're hearing me, so listen now.
There's a continuation of 1E into 2E into 3E into 4E into that 16th note groove there, whether it's the vocal melody, the rhythm, the phrasing of that, or the cadence of that, with the drum fills there, and that kind of guitar motif, or the synth layers. We're really committing to that groove there. It's sensational. We're just getting stronger as this album goes on, to be honest. Which is never a bad thing, let's be real.
You and me have some amazing chemistry, but can we survive ambiguity?
I like that line. You and me have some amazing chemistry, but can we survive ambiguity? I think that's a genuine question that a lot of couples face, you know. Can we handle it when we don't know what's going to happen next? Is that violining, or is that like a specific type of really soft synth?
Let the feeling go, it's all
Great break.
principles.
That ambiguity there matched the vocals with the lyrics well. It was fantastic.
It's ending now, but hold on.
Yeah, I think that the raw vocals were a great choice for that verse section. You need that authenticity in the tone, you know? Literally the texture and timbre of it to make the lyrics more meaningful. In my opinion. That was a fun little sort of sub-drop-ish kind of thing going on there. That was great. No, I think that was cool. I think that track was about like being in a relationship and realizing that you know, things are just getting a little bit too heated, and we need to kind of like look back at what we had there to remember why we even started this journey in the first place. A lot of these songs are about relationships, and I don't think that's necessarily an alien thing for a lot of Echo Strike stuff. People get in relationships, and also like it's a great thing to write music about, because a lot of people are going to relate to it. Just the fundamental vital thing that you need to do when you write music is make sure that even if it is about something that a lot of people can relate to, you need to then bring it forward that little bit extra and just do something unique with that concept. And I think that, again, the synth and vocal layers and the modulation and other sort of elements, the arrangement do kind of make it unique. I kind of dig that. I think that, ironically, with what I was talking about with the authenticity of the tone with like the vocal modulation and like the verse sections there, I think that a lot of people within this genre will go for clean vocals or raw vocals, and it's just done before. So I also can kind of understand why we wanted to switch it up. There's just got to be that sort of nuance there, but also it's their music and they can do whatever we want. But anyways, Build for Access, track number 5.
She's in that dress. She's built for access. To be that close will be a test.
Oh, that's a spicy line. She's in that dress. She's built for access. Okay.
I see that inside me, it's stronger man. You're waiting to see. Feel that in me. I know it's meant to be.
There's some unusual phrasings of the chord lines and bars. We're kind of adding semi-uncomfortable amounts of beats in there to kind of mess with the expectations of the listener. It's more like you're making the rhythm suit the vocal line rather than the typical 4/4 that we get in a lot of these types of music. And it can be effective if it's not overdone. And we're going back to that 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. They love their 16ths with the percussion, dude. It's kind of dope.
Feel that in you, the push up and through. Laying on the bed, screaming through your head. Through your head.
I'm not sure what screaming through your head is meant to sort of like allude to.
I'm getting close. I smell the most truly charming, tasty, alarming thing.
This is fun. This kind of lo-fi chiptune-ish kind of vibe here is something we haven't really had yet. I think that it's creative compositionally. There's a lot going on in these 3-minute 30 tracks, and there's been more in these tracks than there have been necessarily in the 5-minute parts. I suppose that comes down to knowing we have more real estate so we can stretch things out over a 5-minute, but still. I am wondering what that has to do with the story though, because I'm trying to sort of piece together what's going on with the story and the arrangement or the composition here. And I'm not sure I get why they're together. They sound cool. There's kind of a sad motif as if we're unhappy about it, but
I finally see that inside me is a stronger man. You're waiting to see. Feel that in me. I know it's meant to be. You need to understand that I'm not your man anymore.
I don't understand it. Oh, I get it. No, hang on, no, we're fine. Okay, so kind of a charming, friendly little motif with these synth parts at the end with some basses there. Nice reverb tails. Okay, all right. I think that the story here, just as we talk about it, is about someone who, I don't know, there's temptation with someone that they used to be with. And they're wearing a dress where it's like, maybe the guy knows, hey, you know, when you wear that dress, I know that things could probably happen between us because I know you and I know you know me. And that dress is something that I have vivid memories of, perhaps. But I am not the man that you had, and I'm not your man anymore. So I think it's about avoiding temptation and not giving into it. That's what Built for Access is, which is interesting. As an interesting direction there, I think that twist at the end was kind of dope. We got Mexico, track number 6. We're probably going to do 1 to 7 today, and then I'm going to do the rest in the next session. I'll do an extra track tonight.
We can
combination of pianos and guitars here are really pretty. Nice use of repeaters on each side of the stereo field.
Work to make wrong right. Why do they do the things that can't unite? A man walks along the path in the sand. He looks inside and sees a marching band. Thoughts interrupt the same place where he stands. No one help him play this poker hand.
Good use of hand drums there.
Why'd you have to go to Mexico?
Good question.
Place I hardly know. I swear to God, I lost my pride. Without a guide, I would have died. I can't believe I'm out of that hole called Mexico.
Can't believe I'm out of that hole called Mexico. What are we trying to sort of say here? Are we not happy with the country Mexico? Are we comparing Mexico to some place we don't want to go? Is this someone we found in Mexico? Is that it? Did we get our heart broken in Mexico? I'm confused.
You see, most of the places I've been, why'd you have to need a different scene? I could have found you more
Great job bringing in those strings back here. A callback to previous tracks of the album.
I wish I knew what could have been. Why'd you have to go to Mexico? A place I hardly know. I swear to God, I lost my pride. Without a guide, I would have died. I can't believe I'm out of that hole called Mexico. I wish I found you before the body. It looks like you tried to fight, but you couldn't without me.
I stood still whilst you were killed.
You were killed. I never solved the worst riddle. Now you're buried deep in the hole, that hole called Mexico.
I'm not sure what to think about this track. Hey, I don't necessarily understand the context of the part about the dying in Mexico. There's some really vivid imagery, but
Did you know about the fight?
it's like the music's so soothing, but the lyrics are so intense.
To walk the street and work to make wrong right. Why do they do the things that can't unite? Why'd you have to go to Mexico? A place I hardly know. I swear to God, I lost my pride. Without a guide, I would have died. I can't believe I'm out of that hole called Mexico.
I mean, like, I'm confused by the story, but the guitar parts, the synth parts, the occasional vocal modulators, there are interesting sort of choices with the bass lines. We don't have the same chord progressions repeated throughout the song. There's several different layers or different ways of approaching it.
Tonight,
And the strings
did you
return.
know about the fight? We can't believe the people, that's right. To walk the street and work to make wrong right. Why do they do the things that can't unite?
I'm not sure about that one. I don't know if I like that one. I just don't understand it after reading through the lyrics. Okay, so let me just take this on before we do Santa Fe. Mexico, it sounded like the guy was talking about like found love, but then that love died, and there were people doing things that can't unite. So I assume the people around them were responsible for that person passing away, either literally or hypothetically. The fight. Did you hear about the fight? Did the person fight? Was it the death of the relationship? I'm not sure. I don't know. He talked about finding more love for the person and stuff like that. Was it that the person felt unloved? I don't understand. This is less of a clear thing to me, but clearly something that's very personal to the vocalist of Echo Strike. So, you know, like, more power to him. I'm as on a first listen basis, I'm a little bit confused. The backing to it, the musical accompaniment doesn't sound that intense. So it seems like kind of sad and retrospective rather than like morbidly kind of affected by it. But that's just, you know, the interpretation. I don't quite get how the two intermingle. But anyways, we got Santa Fe now, track number 7, the last for the night. More guitars, clean steel strings. We've done a few tracks where we just started with the guitars, and I kind of like the fact we're instantiating the theme like that.
On the way to Santa Fe, knew the truth, but I delayed. Didn't wanna be found out. The drive was long and the nights were hard, but in the sky was the brightest star, and it made me think of you. Santa Fe, no delay. Can you see right through me? 'Cause I would make it easy.
Yeah, I think that the vocal modulation is just a little bit too ferocious in this one. It works well when you've got those synthy layers, but like when it's just kind of like on top of the guitars and bass and strings like this, it's quite a bit to take in, you know, especially with those like parts where it kind of doesn't know how to step properly.
On me, don't you see? Look into my soul. It's all you'll have to know. On the way to Santa Fe, dreamed of you and we misbehaved. Dreaming was all I could do. I wonder if you saw the truth behind.
And again, the higher strings developing this last hook, you know, this is fundamental 101 songwriting, but they're doing it really well.
Santa Fe, turning gray. The rain come out today to wash away the pain that I feel. Is this real? Why am I so empty? Feel the void completely.
The bass tone is really nice and full on this. I like how they've processed it. The doo-doo-doom, you know, I don't know if they're using a jazz bass or something like that, but it's wild, man.
Santa Fe, no delay. Can you see right through me? 'Cause I would make it easy on me. Don't you see? Look into my soul. It's all you'll have to know. On the way.
I mean, like when there's like less lines with less and sort of indecision with some of those tails, the tuning that we've got there works a little bit better, but sometimes it just has kind of an argument with those tails there.
Santa Fe, find a way, seize the day, but that really depends on you. Are you on the way to Santa Fe? Should I leave or should I wait? Guess I'll soon find out the truth. Santa Fe, turning gray. The rain come out today to wash away the pain that I feel. Is this real?
I think that like they've done enough with the track so far to justify the length of it from an instrumental compositional perspective, and the singing, the melodies are solid.
Why am I so empty? You can feel the void completely.
There would be like room for like some extra development on the sides of the stereo field, or there could be another sub layer in the background here, because there's been quite a few of these choruses at this point with a similar structure and layering to them. It would have been cool for like the drums to kind of cut out here or something like that, or just to kind of have it float, you know?
Santa Fe,
Oh, good job.
seize the day that really depends on you.
We're finishing on a major chord there, so it's assumed that maybe things will get better and look up. I'm assuming track 7 could be about like another experience we had in another part, Santa Fe, and maybe a little bit less kind of dire than what happened with Mexico. But at the same time, there is a desire for things to adjust to be different. The sky is gray, you know, things are cloudy and overcast. And what would allow the sun to shine? Would there to be a more preferential outcome of the situation, for things to open up and for there to be alternate possibilities? There was a gentle optimism in the back there that I could kind of make sense of, but it sounded as if there was also some trepidation as well as to whether that would actually really occur. I'm happy with the album so far. There's been a few things I haven't really understood, but you know, in truth, I'm happy with it so far. I think that it's a solid first record. There's a lot of promise, and I look forward to reviewing it, the rest of it tomorrow. So see you then. And welcome back to day 2 of my recording session of this album, part 2. Of course, it's in the same video, but you know what I mean. Looking forward to reviewing tracks 8 through 13 today, unless you ask all the way through the Falling Down. So without further ado, let's go. Got lyrics as well, if I'm not mistaken. It's nice to have this kind of somber piano motif here. I think it's really personable, but kind of sad sounding at the same time with the steel strings. Could have been a diminished triad at the end, or like a flat 5, minor 7 flat 5, but they decided to kind of smooth it out a little bit harmonically, which is fine.
She's holding on for more. Heaven only knows. Questions of the shattered soul, and all the time she made her mind. All the lies she never tried to be the one.
Nice pentatonic run on the vocals.
Holding on the line. She's not alone, not again.
Okay, so we're working with a bum bum. This parallel, that second chord is a parallel major there, which gives it a more uplifting feeling.
She not afraid to face the end. Will you follow me down this unknown path? I promise not to let you go, let you ask. Walking down this boulevard, a broken man crawls along and whispers.
The bass line there low and thunders along. It's filling out the arrangement nice and smoothly, you know.
To call out a name, every word she ever heard. Just
I think the harmonies on the guitars are really pretty alongside everything
turns
else.
to walk away. Something in him said, "You're not alone, not again." He's not afraid to face the end. Will you follow me down this unknown path? I promise not to let you go.
Oh, that's a pretty little sort of hit. I know I did it before. That's a really pretty little falsetto section there with the vibrato in there. Clearly the guy's a good singer, you know.
You ask, wanna try another time to fit between the broken lines, but I knew better. Wanna try another time to fit between the broken lines, that you would never. She's not alone.
I mean, I get why they're going major for this part, to make it a little bit less depressing overall with the theme.
She not afraid to face the end.
It makes sense from a composition perspective.
Down this unknown path, I promise not to let you go unless you ask.
I like the major chord that we finish on there, unless you ask, as if it's a positive thing that she has the choice in that situation. The agency there.
Promise not to let you go unless you ask.
And the articulation added notes on that right hand of the piano were really pretty with his higher vocal range there. Okay, so this track, from what I could read through the lyrics, heaven only knows questions of the shattered soul, all the time she made her mind, all the lies she never tried. So is it about like really kind of digging into a relationship and staying with that person and just trying to sort of figure out the lies from the truth, etc.? And they're not afraid to face the end together. You know, is it about breaking up, or is it about realizing the mundanity of it all and trying to accept them for who they are as opposed to a fantasy world? I'm not quite sure. But that was Unless You Ask. And now I've got That's Not Me, track 9. Hang on. Oh, someone random, right. Never mind. That's from my earlier session. They're doing some stuff. That's Not Me. You can continue with the piano along with the synths for the oscillations there. Really pretty motif off the bat. They know how to create really pleasant sounding music. Like from an instrumental perspective anyways. Like, I'm not always super duper stoked with the amount of vocal modulation there, because again, I heard the guy can sing well. I just think some parts didn't really suit it. But if there is like synths and stuff, it can work. It can just be too jarring texturally at times.
But there's nothing I can do when it's eating me from the inside. There's doubt.
Lyrics, right?
I wish I wasn't carrying around. I'd like to move up, but I seem to be moving down.
Okay, and finishing on that major resolution there. Is it a happy thing that he's moving down? Because that's what the music is communicating there. I mean, it's a pretty little kind of break there.
I'm crazy, I can't be something I'm not, 'cause that's not me. I sighed, I surely tried, but time can be a traitor and the ultimate divide.
But time can be a traitor in the ultimate divide. I like that line a lot. There's some lines in this album so far that I've really appreciated. There's a lot of depth there, you know?
I have a whole lot to lose, but can I live the lie? I'll have to choose. Stop, hang on.
I mean, the vocoder effects where he has that direct sort of modulation there are kind of dope. You know, that's fun to play around with. It's kind of got a Phil Collins kind of vibe to it, eh?
It's time for a break. Think again. You push me to the end. That man you see. That's not me.
But I wonder why that effect is chosen there. Is it just a textural shift from what we had for the previous vocal parts?
For me.
Interesting slidey guitar part here to develop the verse too.
That's not me.
Working with the triads.
I've survived, but I can't take much more of this. It's blinding my eyes. Change can be hard, but it's something I need. This moment is going to finally set me free. Stop, hang on, say it again and I'm done now. It's too
Sup, hang on, say it again and I'm done. So now it's too late, it's time for a break. There's moments of tension in this track lyrically, which are juxtaposed by the softness of the vocals, the vocoder-ish stuff, and the softness of the thing behind it. I know we don't have to be too literal with the way the instruments play to back up the you know. I get really pretty extensions up with that synth lead in the background as a sub layer, reaching up to the higher echelons. A bit of extra development there with the vocal melodies.
Something I'm not, because that's not me.
I can't be something I'm not because that's not me. I can't be something I'm not because that's not me. Yeah, so basically I think this track is about someone who is having to make compromises they're not really okay with for the sake of the relationship. And at the end of the end, they just kind of just reiterating, look, that is not me. You see a different version, but I'm not who you think I am, and this is the way it's going to stay. So I think that's a nice finite end to it. I think that the additional lead layers, or the vocal variations to the melodies in the chorus section of the outro made the track work. I think it wouldn't have been as effective if we just copied and pasted it. So that was a smart move there. Yeah, great. So we've got Sweet Cyanide, track number 10 though.
I like what you've done with the place.
Sweet Cyanide. The guitar line is sweet with those seventh chords on the piano there with the minor parallel. Again, continued solid drum grooves.
You can see in the darkness, just like me. You see isn't real. Come and take a peek where I bleed. Is stain of my grief. It's a little strange, the poison in me. My body can't take any more of this IV.
They use different drum kits throughout this album as I understand it. The line, the poison in me, my body can't take any more of this IV. It's, what is it, yeah, we'll figure it as we go along.
Took something from deep inside. You cried. It's been in my head since the day you died. Never found
Yeah, is this about someone that
reason why you left town. Touch the ground. I can hear you without a sound. It's a little strange, the poison in me. My body can't take any more of this IV.
I have a feeling this is about someone that died. Like maybe they committed suicide or something like that.
I never knew the reason you cried. You found your
I mean, I don't know. It's very dangerous for me to assume it isn't about someone literally dying when they're saying that you died, because I don't understand what else that could be.
heart in the open divide. You left me with an emptiness that will never subside. Can again, my lost girl, my sweet cyanide, my sweet
So it is a drug, the thing that died.
cyanide. Look, don't breathe. Can you see her? Just maybe. God bless me. Stop me from being crazy. My heart leaves. The days begin to look bleak. Now
I mean, I like the guitars on the right side there. They're kind of pretty with the accenting on the far side of the stereo field. The quarter note accents with the 8th and 16th note hi-hats add a nice sort of pace to the track. There's two different guitars doing different things on either side, actually.
it's a little strange. The poison in me. My body can't take any more of this IV.
You can tell that someone's actually playing that hi-hat there, like it's like not a sampled kit, because of the fact that the differences in the different intensities of those hi-hat hits. They could have keyed it out, but it's very difficult to get that kind of raw kind of accuracy of how a person would actually play those sections, you know? Interesting panning of them, their hi-hat on that side though. I wouldn't necessarily do it myself, but you know, it's cool.
You left me with an emptiness that will never subside. Can it again, my lost girl, my sweet cyanide, my sweet cyanide.
My sweet cyanide. Yeah, I don't get this one, man. I don't understand it. If I take it literally, he's talking about the cyanide that died. In fact, why do I second guess myself? Why don't I just go with what's being said here, right? Basically, there's parts where he doesn't want to get the poison anymore. You found your heart in the open divide. So I assume that they're talking about a person here. You left me with an emptiness that will never subside. So this person was venomous or toxic. Good night again, my lost girl, so the person can never be found. I think that's recovering from grief of having lost that person, and maybe they did damage to themselves, but they damaged the person singing. But also they mourn their loss because inevitably that pain that they caused came from their own hurt that they were feeling. That's sweet cyanide to me. I could be wrong, but there was emotional nuance to the backing there, the accompaniment. But I don't know if it necessarily matched the intensity of their lyrics in a way that makes sense to me. But I also understand the kind of music these guys make, and I know that going too heavy or too rough on it wouldn't necessarily make sense. So that's fine. The synth lines with the warm kind of pedal note bass was dope though. We got In Truth number 11.
I knew I was wrong when I wrote this song. Something ain't right. There's a strange air tonight. There's things to say.
I don't necessarily mind when people go wrong in song in the same line as right, and tonight it splits up the flow of the lyrics lines in a way where they seem fragmented when you rhyme in that type of format. And if that's the way they were going with this, then that's fine. It's something that's happened across this album.
This is the end. I can't start it again.
It almost sounds like they're separate lines as opposed to the same one. Kind of melancholy kind of tune here.
Can you see?
Oh no, it's getting more majorish and hopeful here with the sadness there. A lot of these songs don't necessarily know what kind of part of the emotional spectrum they want to sort of like connect to.
In truth.
Again, like the really wide synth sequences there in the high end are dope. Like I can hear them as a sub layer in the previous part there and now really pretty.
Your mind always seemed to sway a little that way. This feeling's just a game, and you're to blame.
Just because it's also like bugging me a little bit, this is just like, obviously we can't really fix it now. This isn't how you say your. It's meant to be Y-O-U apostrophe R-E, and you are. You're to blame. Now, this has been something that's continued throughout the entirety of this album up until now. I'm just getting it out of my system.
Don't you dare.
Oh, we had a you there, but we put it as your.
Look at me that way. It comes from deep inside your veins. You're insane.
Maybe you're insane. Like, was this like a software? I mean this genuinely. Was this software that listened to the music? Because I don't know how they get lyrics on Spotify. Did they get software to listen to the music and go, oh, you're insane? Is the software the one that chose those words? Because I can understand it hearing you're and not knowing the context and putting you're insane. It could work, you know? Great guitar lick. Great little break. I adore it. Especially in a 5-minute 24 track, dude. That is a long one.
I knew I was wrong.
That's cool, you know, like having just a little bit of a palette cleanser there in that mid-range. Especially when you've had the guitars just kind of be more of a sort of like support item for the most of this album. Good choice. And continuing up here, Rich does hair, not leaving the bass, you know.
What it's like to pretend. There's no way that it's going to change someday. So let's stop this now before it's too late to get out. Your time has come. Let's move this thing along.
I like the bone. The hi-hat groove there. It kind of reminds me of some jazzy elements there. And because it's an open hi-hat or a crash or something like that, it stands out and adds a new kind of pattern we haven't had yet.
Your mind always seemed to sway a little that way.
Again, he loves his parallel major minors and these harmonies there. They're unpredictable because of that, you know?
And you're to blame.
Ah, and the organ. Da-da-da.
Look at me that way. It comes from deep inside your shame.
Nice double tracking there. Nice and wide, you know?
You're insane.
It's a good way to make a chorus a bit bigger to double track, you know, with the vocals. Like probably 30, 40 each side. You just got to be a really competent vocalist and know how to keep in time with it, you know. Oh, rolling up the scale shape or the key with those triads there with the diminished at the end. Okay.
What to choose? Either way I'd lose in truth. Your mind always seemed to sway a little that way.
Catchy vocal melodies. I mean, it works.
Just a game, and you're to blame. Don't you dare look at me that way. It comes from deep inside your brain. You're insane.
You're insane with that phaser effect there and just kind of wiling out on that. No, in truth, it was an interesting track there. I think it's about being honest with someone and letting them know, hey, you know, this isn't working and we need to get out before it's too late. And I just, you've got like this twisted perception of everything going on, and it's not real, and it's not working. You know, that's basically what the track is about in truth. It's about being finally honest with someone who you might have been tolerating for a while about how things are with them. You know, it's cool. I mean, like, this is track 12 now, we both know. It's so tonally balanced, and how do I describe it? It's like the music is afraid to commit too sternly to a specific direction now. We're kind of always trying to find that midpoint between happy and sad and balance it in sort of a central sort of approach. And I know that makes it more approachable. We both know here. So is that like a guitar, or is that like a plugin or something like that?
Is it just some sick game? There must be something more to say. Or is this the end of the play? You know that I want it. You know that I'll never get it. You know that not a day goes by when I'm not wrapped up in your mind. Did we really?
Honestly, like, a lot of the most interesting parts of this album are the synth parts, the liquid EDM sample bits, the texture choices, and the colorations of the different sort of electronic instruments. Part of that is because, like, I kind of expect there to be guitar, bass, and drums, and the vocal style from, you know, Echo Strike is what I'm familiar with.
Sacrifice.
I'm not going to pretend I didn't have symptoms in previous tracks or albums, don't get me wrong. It's just that, like, some of these tracks are dominant in that regard.
Never an honest lie. I sure want a slice of the pie. I know that you want
Bop, 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 8 and 4 and 1.
get it.
It's a really pleasant aesthetic, orally, you know.
Not a day goes by when I'm not wrapped up in your mind. You and me get confused, you see. We will find a way home. You and me get confused, you see. We will find a way home.
Guitar solo. Woo! Texture shift. Dude, I'm so vibing with this, man. Even the simplicity of the lead line with the bop, 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 the synths kind of plugging away, it's dope, man. Oh, this is so refreshing for some reason. I just think, even though I like hearing the vocals, it's just something about the way that it's just so kind of tune-based, instrumentally based. It's kind of pleasant. Because we know we're going to get a story in each of the tracks off this album. We know that. But to allow the other people involved in this to have a bit more kind of agency to be able to do what they want with their instruments is dope. There's room for it as well. Like, there's room for it in tracks like this. Okay, because of the oh yeah part, I think that was like a, oh yeah, you know, that was the kind of vibe, but the vocal modulation there for me kind of broke it a little bit. It would have been nice for that to maybe have been raw, but maybe they felt that it was going to be a little bit alien in relation to the other vocal effects we had. Okay, I mean that's okay. I mean I don't. It sounds like two people that are sort of maybe unintentionally in tune with each other. They both want it, but they're not going to get it because they can't get out of their own heads. Basically, they're too stuck in there with their own insecurities to really be able to connect on a level that's deeper than what their barriers or walls allow them to. That's my understanding of that track. My favorite parts of that were the guitar solo parts with the synthy bits, basses bopping alongside it. We got Falling Down though, the last track on this album, the last one. What are we gonna have from these guys at this point? How are they gonna end their debut album, their debut record?
The trees are falling down, stumble to the ground. No one's around, see them falling.
The string focus with the vocals here is sweet. I think it would have been better to have not had the vocal effects here.
Been here before, but I don't play no.
Have the vocal effects come in with there's more of the synth focus parts, you know?
Not at all.
Because these guys are clearly able to do different vocal parts with different effects and positions and everything like that. I've heard it before in this record.
There is always another way, but that means
It seems like this part's a little bit too busy for what the previous part had there from a compositional motif perspective.
it's the wrong way, but
I'm not sure why we needed to have this many,
it's time to say
much movement.
goodbye.
Okay, the minor choice here. I swear if they turn a major, let it be sad for a bit, you know? Oh no, why did they make it happy?
The wind is in my eyes, it's no big surprise. Keep hearing all the
It was just that major came in so bluntly right at the end. It might have been just have a bit of silence there and then have the lead guitar come in before the motif there. Just to lie to have, just kind of sort of, you know, digest what we had before, you know, the goodbye part.
but I
That emptiness that comes from leaving.
love before hate. I'm just a little late. There's no debate, and I can't take no more. Not at all now. A story told 1,000 times. It's like a poem that doesn't rhyme. The sand is blown in one long line, and you are no longer mine.
I'm liking the dynamic range here, how it builds like this.
Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Goodbye, nice harmonies in those fourths. Guitar line behind it is actually quite busy. It might have been better to have those guitar lines in unison with the vocals just to reinforce them, especially this outro bit. Oh, why did we make it major at the end? Just let it be sad. Let it be sad. Like when you read like stuff like a story told 1,000 times is like a poem that doesn't rhyme. The sand is blown into one long line. You are no longer mine. Is it good? Because when you have that major section at the end, it's like, is it a good thing that they're gone? When you have trees just falling down, I stumble to the ground, no one's around to see them falling. It's okay for the last track to be sad. It's okay for the end part to be sad. Let it just be sad. If you didn't want the end of the album to be sad, don't put a sad song there. Don't do it. It's like Love Before Hate, I'm just a little late, there is no debate, now I can't take no more. It's not a happy song. So why did we finish on a major note? Are we glad that we've left? I suppose that's it, right? But the power of the major and minor triads is such that if, just before we finish, because we're about to conclude, but when you have a song and you finish it like that, it makes it sound like, oh, but it was well worth it or something like that. The listener was left to interpret why there was that happy sound after the story. But again, I'll get into conclusion, you know? Because this is my conclusion to my review of this album, Honest Lies by Echo Strike. What do I think this album is about? I think this album is predominantly about relationships, people that have been lost, people that have not worked out with, maybe people realizing they can't get together because of their being inside their own heads and their own insecurities, mind games and manipulation and falling down. Like if we go back to that just really, really quickly, you know, there is no debate and I can't tell you no more. Yeah, it sounds like we've just really gotten to a point where we just really cannot continue in good conscience, falling down. We're falling down because we can't handle the situation anymore. We're leaving because it's just we've gone that step too far. This track seems like it's someone working through their relationship woes. This album in general seems like that. It's the vocals are good. I liked them. I like the way the guy sings. He has reasonably good hidden voice technique, you know, controlling those areas. There's vibrato parts and falsetto parts, which are fantastic, and sometimes he combines them. I'm not sure why we felt the need to have so much vocal modulation. I think there are times in which we had sort of raw analog or acoustic instruments where those effects on the vocals sounded a little bit alien. And I know this is their debut album, and I know that I could be a bit more gentle, but they clearly know that this is the case because they had parts where the vocals were more raw and it sounded dope. And I understand that the point of music is to, you know, like creativity is a thing and you can make the music how you want it. As a music reviewer, I like to try and understand the synergy between components. And if it elevated the track by having those vocals there with the kind of effects on them occasionally with those string parts, then I'd totally be like, yeah, absolutely. That addition made it better. But like 80% of the results are by 20% of the effort. And I feel as if we could have gotten more out of it if we just left the vocals alone in those bits. I think we didn't need to over-engineer those. They're great. It's just simply because you had some parts in the vocal runs or like the little trills or tails where like it would kind of glitch out a little bit. And I felt that kind of pulled me out of it. The parts where the vocals were synthy were great. There was nice coloration in there. There was some vocoder bits with an interesting sort of synthy texture to walk alongside some of the more synthetic elements of the mix. And ultimately, you know, I'm happy with what we had. I think that the vocals were done well. The stories that were told made sense with it. There was, I think, most of the time we felt as if like the emotion or the performance matched the intensity of the lyrics. I genuinely feel as if we were being a little bit too safe with some of our deliveries here. I feel as if we could have really sold ourselves, kind of really committed more to the mood of the tale. There could have been a more emotional or sort of performative range there. We could have really gotten stuck into those moments of heaviness, like when the cyanide died and stuff like that. You know, sweet cyanide, where we talk about someone dying and the toxicity and stuff. Like, how do we sing that in a way where it sounds like we're being affected that way by it? It's about kind of digging into ourselves and finding that voice within ourselves, making it theatrical, you know, making it so that it's so much more than simply a really sort of competent vocal performance, because this isn't a mark against the way the vocals were done. I like the melodies and the harmonies there, and the notes for the most part were hit really well. I personally feel as though there could have been more authenticity with the tone of the vocals. I think we held back and were maybe within our own walls a little bit. Maybe it was a lack of confidence or something like that. But I'm hoping for future albums. I mean, I know that this is approved all the time, but also I've also heard some of this in other albums where we're kind of conservative with the way that we communicate with the audience. We need to not do that. The way to really get a listener's attention is to speak to them in the way that makes sense with the story. And I think sometimes we were just a little bit too kind of gentle for what we were discussing, but that's okay. Most of it was great, and I understand within the genre type of music we're doing here why that was done. It's just also one of the limitations of the genre that doesn't need to be there, because I think people can be people without it being a detriment. And people are more than just pleasant to listen to. I think that the structure of these tracks was good. There were changes in here, extra bars added to certain bits, verse, chorus, bridge structures, and little solo sections occasionally. I do wish there were more solo sections throughout the tracks, not with each one, but especially with some of the long form factor ones, like with Stuck in the Approach, I wish there were more dedicated parts there, because I feel as if there was a lot of time taken up by storytelling, and there was a lot of information to take in, or repeated choruses where we could have potentially just had a soloish bit. I am basically at this point in my career as a reviewer kind of done with repeated outro choruses. I don't think it's that necessary to do them. And not that we were especially not that I have any massive complaints about it here. Like, it's not like we copied and pasted them. It's more like I just think these tracks could have been shorter if we had like one less chorus, because we already kind of told the story within the first 2 minutes, especially if we don't have those solo sections or those instrumental breaks. It's part of why I liked In Truth, because we had moments where kind of like we would just step away from the mic and allow the other instruments to kind of add their own sort of perspective to it. It makes it more interesting to listen to. Even if the vocalist is solid and like easy to listen to and you can understand the words clear and everything like that, you need more than that, especially with an album nowadays, especially with the music industry as it is. And with the skill and competency of the musicians in this band, I think they're capable of doing more with that. So I look forward to any of the future work having more instrumental parts. Allow yourself to have a bit more range with the variety of leads there, not needing to dominate with a message. Listeners already get shown so many stories. There's always stories in every single song, because the nature of the industry is that most of the stuff needs to be vocal focused. There's room for more than that. And I'm not saying we didn't have lead bits in the background, like guitar parts or piano motifs to begin with or something like that, or some interesting sort of synthy parts with little synth basses. Some of those parts are my favorite. And it's not even a conversation about the quality of the actual performance itself, because the drum parts, if I go through a few of them, like the drum parts were fantastic. The 16th and 8th note grooves there and the variations there were wonderful. Across the different tones of drums that typically made sense with the style of music or what we were doing there. The guitar parts were wonderful. I like the minimalism with some of the sort of like the arpeggiated and sort of rhythm parts there, and also with the leads there. I thought the end of Falling Down was a little bit too busy, but just because I felt like we needed to bring down the bell curve of the intensity there at the end to kind of allow it to sort of sink in place with it. The bass lines were great, nice and full, a bit of variation in the mid-range there with the fretboard. The synths there were fun. I clearly had a lot of fun playing around with different tones and stuff like that, and getting different sort of like, styles of synths there that I wanted to work with. They can make interesting music for sure. Like, there are good instrument choices there. They understand how to notch stuff in the high, mids, and lows and everything like that, and make it nice and wide in the stereo field. And they do mess around with a bit of ornamentation and they know their effects chains and stuff. There's a lot of potential, which is why I'm leaning a little bit more sort of like well, I'm being honest in all my reviews, but I feel less of a need to kind of rationalize it, because I know how good these guys are. Like, try to justify any decisions here, because I think that these guys know at this point, especially with the other albums, that they know what they're doing. I think that in parts where we had major chords to kind of form as a clutch to steer away from the minor elements and intonations, that was a mistake. We needed to just allow tracks to be sad. It's okay for songs to be sad. It's not going to mean your album sucks. Minor scales are the coolest scales. The major scales are often cheesy, and I'm not saying the songs in this album were cheesy, but you also, and I know that anything after a but is redundant, so I'm going to stop there because I'm talking about a different thing and that rule doesn't apply. It's that I think that it undermines the intensity of the vocals and the lyrics by having a major shift or something like that. Parallel majors, cool, they're unexpected and kind of dope, parallel minors as well. Extension's great, but allow a motif to be sad. And I think that Falling Down, especially when you have Honest Lies as an album title, it doesn't look like a happy album title. It doesn't sound like it. The track wasn't happy. Let it finish on a minor. It's okay for things to be sad. That's part of life. Life isn't happy all the time. But yeah, there was some tonal diversity within this track, harmonically and everything like that. And I think the piano parts in their mid to high range were nicely situated, and they were sparse, but when they came in, they were welcome. The composition was good. There were lots of interesting choices with different lengths of like bar shapes or stanzas to suit the vocals. So you'd add like another bar or something like that to lead it in. I'm happy with the tracks for the most part. I just know these guys. I'm looking forward to what they do in future to see how they grow from this album alongside the other ones I've reviewed. But finally, the studio recording, mixing, and mastering. I think it's great. I think it's very, very good. It's bordering on commercial grade. There were some parts that didn't seem like totally glued there in the mix. I'm not sure if that's simply because the vocal sounded a bit naked sometimes, but that's okay. It's not like it was badly mixed or anything like that. It's just that I think there was just a lack of edge in it that I would have expected from like the composition or the sort of the songwriting part of it. But especially with some of those darker bits. But if that's not the way we're going, that's fine. The way that the track was, recorded, the vocal takes and the guitars, bass drums, piano, synths, etc. were done well, filtered and EQ'd. It was nice and wide stereo field and no resonant frequencies in the frequency spectrum. There was like dynamic range to it. It wasn't loud all the time. There were changes and variations in the energy levels there, and it was nice and loud without pumping. This is my review of Honest Lies by Echo Strike, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via the various social medias and the Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they either help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands Out.